This morning here on Saturday, the Honda Indy Toronto is going to be completely different from what they experienced yesterday here on the streets.
Indeed, you start with session number one, practice. It was super dirty out there. We had a little bit of water on the track after it had been washed. Then they qualify for race number one later in the day, and now, of course, we've had a Pinty's race out there. We've had a ton of track time. IndyCar's been out there as well. Everything they did yesterday was before IndyCar's practice session, so now all that IndyCar rubber's down. So there's going to be a radically different level of grip for the drivers, but again, it's still the morning. It's still, any dust that has blown around throughout the evening. It's not going to be perfect, but again, it'll be a lot better. And really, for the engineers, this is where sometimes you'll see a driver step forward. Maybe they were fifth or sixth, or even outside the top 10, you find themselves inside the top 10 here in qualifying too, because the engineer sits down, talks to the driver, what can we do? Really, the driver doesn't know because they've never been here before. It's been 3 years since we've been here. So the engineer could be taking a big swing, getting aggressive on making changes to the chassis and the suspension, and that could pay off if they make the right changes. If they don't make the right changes, then the driver is going to be complaining very quickly on the radio.
That's the benefit of having multiple qualifying sessions and time in between. You can try something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you have time to go back to what you know has worked previously. And again, a part of the learning process, the road to Indy, is about moving drivers through the ladder system, starting at USF2000, then progressing up, hopefully one day, to the IndyCar Series.
And one of the interesting things for this qualifying session, the engine's just starting to get fired down here on pit lane, is that what we'll see as they roll out here is that throughout yesterday, the drivers were getting closer and closer to the walls around the racetrack. The first session, when they got things rolling at the start of Friday, man, they're staying right in the racing line. They weren't going hardly anywhere close to the walls. Let's just kind of get comfortable. The walls were actually, around the walls were a lot more damp than the track itself. This is when they're going to start to, you really maybe get a little closer to the apex. They're going to run a little closer to the wall on the exit of the corners as well. They're going to use all of the racetrack. You don't want to do that early. It's where you get yourself in trouble when you maybe get a little loose coming out of a corner. We saw Jacob Douglas do that yesterday at the end of qualifying. The exclusive Autosport driver in turn 5 just got a bit loose as he was tracking for P2 in qualifying, ended up qualifying in the 4th spot. So Douglas, another driver, is here coming out of turn number 5. You can see going nowhere near the wall right now. They'll be out at the wall later on in the session, but right now on cold Cooper tires, they're running as far away from the wall as they can, trying to pinch the corners, see if they can't build the heat into the tires.
And that's part of the process as well. A 20-minute qualifying session, so it's build the heat in the tires, use them, get the most out of them, but then it becomes about managing the tires for the rest of the qualifying session and the weekend.
Indeed, and we only have 3 sets of tires for 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. So we saw Juncos Racing bring their drivers in after a couple of laps yesterday. They scuffed in a set for one of the races. Good strategy for them. And they still were able to get good lap times in Indy Pro. Reese Gold and Anal Ahmed qualifying 2nd and 3rd. And here's the shot there. That's the shot coming out of turn number 11. This is coming out of turn number 1. You can see the drivers were staying well away from the wall there. Get comfortable in the car. That's the other thing you have to remember. These kids are anywhere from 14 to 20 years of age. I remember when I was that age, when I got up in the morning at 7 or 6 o'clock or 7 in the morning, I'm pretty, a little foggy for the first couple hours. These guys have to be on it immediately, and you're telling them to go out there and run 140 miles an hour down to the, into turn number 3. So really, it's all about focus, staying out of trouble here early. They'll get in the zone after the first couple laps.
Just waiting for the drivers to start to bring these cars up to speed. Michael D'Orlando is the one who is trying to chase down Miles Rowe in terms of the championship. It's a really good championship battle right now in USF2000 through 13 rounds, and a lot of points up for grabs this weekend, and we'll see how the championship chase will shake out.
Really interesting. It's almost like a title fight, right? Because they're going at each other. One will throw a haymaker, the other throws a haymaker. Miles Rowe won a bunch of races early in the season. Michael D'Orlando then won the Freedom 75 at the Oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And then from there, he was able to win a bunch of races. Well, then they go to Mid-Ohio, and Miles Rowe wins another race. And then at the end of Mid-Ohio, D'Orlando comes back and is able to get a victory in race number 3 of that triple header. So they're just like really kind of sparring with each other right now, trading haymakers, and everybody's trying to get that on that run to get to the end of the season. And this is it. We have a race this afternoon, one tomorrow, only 5 more races left to see who's going to win the championship. And with that, a scholarship to go to Indy Pro 2000 worth over $400,000.
That's really one of the great features of the road to Indy. And along with all of the knowledge that's gained, all of the experience that these drivers get, if you win, if you are successful, if you can claim a championship, it guarantees you the next step on the road to Indy.
And there is nothing like it, Todd, in the world in terms of junior Formula Car racing. That the scholarship all the way up the road to Indy. Whether you're talking about coming out of the Lucas Oil School of Racing, which is our official racing school, their champion wins a scholarship to go into USF Juniors or USF2000. Our new USF Juniors program, which we launched this year, which will have a brand new race car in 2023. It's $200,000 plus to move up into USF2000. And of course, the Indy Pro 2000 champion, winning almost $700,000 to move into Indy Lights next year.
Looks like the drivers have completed a couple of laps now, so by now they will understand, okay, where the track is different from yesterday, where there's more rubber, where they may have more grip, where they can start to push a little further, and also where they may want to alter their racing line around here just a little bit.
Yeah, they're getting a feel for what the track's like. Obviously, the Indy car rubber's gone down right now, so there may be a little different line that they'll take to try to grab a hold of some of that rubber, leverage the increased grip that's here. But one of the interesting things, you can see a little bit of mid-corner oversteer there, and that's what's going to happen. We talked about this on the track walk. Coming through this Cooper Tire corner, turn number 5, the concrete that was laid down on the inside. Look, you can see as they try to roll the corner, there's just no grip there. So they have to be really gentle in terms of rolling on the power coming through turn number 5. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in the concrete wall on the outside. And unforgiving is the word for the concrete here.
Unforgiving is very appropriate, and you'll see as we watch that shot through this session and through some of the others, be it the Indy Pro 2000 that comes up next, just the car control that these drivers, young drivers, will have to demonstrate. There's another good shot there under the Honda bridge, the hands twitching back and forth just to keep the car corrected and pointed in the right direction.
Jace Denmark, second year at USF 2000, running with Pabst Racing, the fastest driver in practice, ended up qualifying second behind his teammate Miles Rowe, but Miles had run the checkered flag, did not come in when he was supposed to come in. 2 position penalties, so Jace Denmark out of Arizona will be on the pole position for race number 1 later today, and he's leading the way right now as Jace Denmark on top of the 113.999. Fast driver on the racetrack here is Denmark. A 113 flat is where they were yesterday, so expect them to keep coming down in terms of time. Now, one of the differences, of course, a little cooler than it was yesterday. 69 degrees here now trackside. It was up into the mid-70s yesterday. Denmark is the leader. Jace Denmark. Christian Weir up into second. Billy Fraser, who had the issue yesterday, trying to bounce back for race number 2 in the exclusive Autosport Corpay number 92. He's now in the 3rd spot, make that 5th. As Jagger Jones has now gone to 3rd ahead of his Cape Motorsports teammate Michael D'Orlando. Fraser now 5th, Miles Rowe back in 6th. Even Papasavas is a great story, having a strong run here so far. He goes to P2. Papasavas up into the 2nd spot for Jay Howard Driver Development. What an excellent qualifying run so far. Qualified 8th, I believe, yesterday. 9th actually ended up yesterday. And for Papasavas, here's a guy in only his 3rd Road to Indy weekend in USF 2000. Wasn't able to start the season after a pretty scary karting crash in Las Vegas at a major event last November. Had a head injury that he had to kind of get through. They had to do some surgery, and he was on the mend. We didn't see him until Road America, so he's ran Road America, Mid-Ohio, and is now showing his pace here at a very tough street circuit for Jay Howard Driver Development. Top 10 yesterday. Imagors Papasavas from Ohio currently sits P3.
First time here on the streets of Toronto to be able to adapt that quickly to a very challenging temporary street circuit says a lot about Papasavas, but it also says a lot about these drivers too, that he's recovered from the injury, took the time necessary, and that instead of waiting until next year and maybe deciding what to do, it's, you know what, I can get back into the series, I can run some races, I can gain some experience, I can start to learn some of these tracks that we'll be visiting, and next year maybe come back for a full season. He has that little bit of extra experience already ahead of the competition.
And that's the plan, right? I'm sure that he was absolutely gutted when the doctor said, hey, listen, we probably not a good idea for you to go racing at the start of this year, but listen, stay forward, think about the actual career itself. You're very early in this program. There's no hurry at this point.
This is just the start of your career, and that's the impatience of of all race drivers, quite frankly, is they want to be in the car, they want to get as much time as they can.
Indeed. Coming to the halfway point of this 20-minute session, Jagger Jones has gone to the top of the charts. Jagger coming into the event here, 4th place in points, highest rookie in the points. In fact, the only rookie driver, actually, we have 2 rookie drivers now, pardon me, into the top 10 in points. Nicky Hayes has picked up some points over the last couple of races, and he's moved his way into the 9th spot. But Jagger Jones, 68 points back. Jones from Scottsdale, Arizona. And again, the legendary Jones name in IndyCar racing is his father, P.J. Jones, grandfather Parnelli Jones. And Jagger's a very talented driver who from karting made the move into stock car racing. Did a bunch of late model racing in California and the West Coast. Decided he wanted to go road to Indy racing and try to see if he can't get himself to IndyCar. And he's been really strong out of the gate. I'd love to see him in USF2000 next year, but I think he may be looking at Indy Pro as well. We'll see what happens with Jagger Jones. But solid so far here as we come to the halfway point. Jace Denmark runs 2nd, Michael D'Orlando 3rd, Papasavas up into 4th, Miles Rowe now 5th, but Joey Garg in 6th spot. Number of drivers in the pit lane, so we are seeing some tire changes today. So some drivers potentially coming out, Todd, with the tires they used in qualifying yesterday. So we'll take those tires, we'll make some adjustments to the car. You go out with your used tires, and then tell us what you need. We'll bolt fresh rubber on. Fresh rubber fixes everything, at least for a couple of laps, right? Your car may not be perfect, but you put fresh rubber on, you're going to get all this extra grip. But it's not going to be speed. You've got to be able to make at least a couple adjustments to make sure it's going to be a bit better than what it was. So we'll see that happen during the pit stop.
It's the balance of getting the optimum speed for a lap or 2 or 3 for qualifying versus having a car that handles simply and smoothly and consistently for the full race.
Consistently is the word, right? You want to have that. Because if it's a consistent baseline, as the car gets lighter and lighter, you're going to go faster and faster. And these Cooper tires, well, they do have a fine edge where you're going to get the best lap. The consistency afterwards is fantastic. Papasavas to P1. Wow, Papasavas up to P1 here for Jay Howard Driver Development. What a revelation for this young man. A 113.232, and I don't know that I've seen a rookie be that impressive coming out of the gate here at a very tough track here in Toronto. So we've got a number of drivers that put fresh rubber on. Billy Fraser coming out as well, I believe, in the number 92 Corpe machine. So Fraser's put on fresh rubber. The Papasavas P1, Jones 2nd, Rowe up to 3rd, Denmark 4th, D'Orlando 5th, Spike Kohlbecker in 6th. Wow. 3 rookies in the top 10 right now in Papasavas, Jones, and Nicky Hayes in 10th. Billy Fraser now 11th spot on the used rubber from yesterday. Dylan Christie 12th, Jorge Garcias in 13th, Nick D'Orlando 14th. They'll put fresh rubber on him. He's in the pit lane. D'Orlando, they had an issue with the car yesterday. He did not get a chance to practice. He's a full session behind everybody. So wherever you see Nick D'Orlando, the number 91, he's a full session behind. He's going to keep getting better. I guarantee his second race will be the best in terms of pace.
What a huge setback for drivers, too, with limited number of sessions, a limited amount of track time. But now to have missed a session with practice, just you learn so much in that initial practice. Even though it's the first session, the track is a bit dirty, the track needs to be cleaned up. But having those 15 or 20 laps lost is an enormous loss for these drivers.
Agreed. This speed we're seeing at the Papasavas is going to be great for Jay Howard Driver Development. They have a couple other drivers in the field right now. In Jorge Garcias, he's down in 14th. Frederick Lund is in 16th spot. They're going to be able to go back and look at Papasavas' data and go, this is what we can do. Our car can do this speed. That's the great thing about the development program. When you have teammates, you go back into your trailer. As you know, we sit down, they put all that data up. You can do the overlays of each lap on the computer and find out exactly where you're missing it. And we have a lot of sensors on these race cars. Throttle sensor, brake sensor, so you know exactly when you're on the throttle. If a driver's, let's say you need to be flat out somewhere, and the driver's like, I'm flat out. Of course I am. Well, let's look at the data. No, actually, you're at 95% throttle. Sorry to tell you. The sensor does not lie, right?
It's sort of like that's the lie detector on the car during the debrief session. And look at the times. I know you tell me not to focus too much on the times, but you mentioned that we were at 113 flat yesterday, and now 4 drivers are already under that time from yesterday. That's the change. That's the improvement in the track.
That's it. And literally that's a bit of everything, right? That's the rubber, the improvement of the racetrack, so much cleaner than yesterday. We've got IndyCar rubber down, but it's also the drivers getting more and more comfortable. I talked to Jagger Jones yesterday, and I said, how much better was the track in the afternoon than the morning? Well, obviously it was better. He goes, but we were all just pushing a lot harder. We were all way more comfortable than we were in the morning, so we really were starting to get at it, really starting to let the car rotate, really trying to charge some of these corners. And you have to do that at the end of the back straightaway, Todd. Even though it's a long back straight and you're going to be hard on the brakes, you've got to really charge the corner. Because until you've been down there, you don't realize when you come around turn 3 in the hairpin, it's a significant uphill run. Some of the camera angles don't show that, but when you're into the corner, you charge it, and you're getting that a little bit of a, maybe entry understeer, the car's pushing a little bit. The minute you start going back up the hill, you're pushing into the ground as you're going up the hill. It just gives extra grip on the front tires. But the fronts will bite if you charge in hard.
Yeah, the other part of it, as you mentioned, is learning the track and getting comfortable and understanding. It's one thing to watch it on the sim, but to be in the car, to feel the bumps out on the track and understanding that. And so many of these corners are blind. You approach them and you don't know exactly. You mentioned corner number 3, how it's an uphill afterwards. That's the other part of it. It's a tricky combination of corners, and some of those corners are blind to the driver.
Well, and again, what do you tell a driver? Now, there's the entry point, the apex, and the exit point. Anytime you're driving, there's a lot of points in between there, but once you get to the entry and you start to turn on the entry, you're already looking at the apex, and then once you're closing to the apex and you're getting there, you're already looking at the exit point. That's what allows for a car to be able to track out. You can't see the exit point. That's the thing. You're turning in. Well, there's the apex. You can't even see the exit yet, and that you got to trust that the exit's there. And once you get around the corner, obviously let the car track out to the wall. That's what's so tough about these street circuits. The limited visibility means the drivers really have to trust the car, and they have to trust their entry into each corner to know they're going to come out at the right place on the other side.
Championship leader Miles Rowe just went to the top of the time sheet to 1:12.2 with just under 5 minutes remaining in the session.
Yeah, the track record here a number of years ago, 2018, a 1:10.769 for Kalen Frederick, who now runs in Europe. Kalen Frederick was quick. Of course, the great thing about a track like this is it changes so much year to year. They'll put some pavement down in certain areas. Sometimes it'll be faster, sometimes it'll be slower. It all depends on weather. I don't think we're going to get down anywhere near a track record, but we are potentially flirting with a lap time in the 1:11s. Again, 1:13 flat was qualifying on pole yesterday for race 1. We're already 0.8 quicker, and we may get down into the 1:11s. Miles Rowe on top, 1:12.266. Jace Denmark in second. So again, a Pabst Racing lock out of the front row. It would have been the same thing for race 1, but Rowe, with that penalty, having blown the checkered flag, he's going to fall down to third. So Pabst Racing, they have their Tatis machines absolutely dialed in here this weekend. Rowe and Denmark 1 and 2. Jagger Jones in the third spot as Denmark now goes P1. Jace Denmark, wow, this is playing really interesting because he's third place in points, Todd, but he's 32 points back. That's almost a full race worth of points. He needs to win 2 races here. If Jace Denmark comes in and wins both races here, that puts his name firmly into the championship battle when we get to Portland on Labor Day weekend. This is big for Jace Denmark, and the bonus points as well.
What a fight that would be heading into the final re-rounds at Portland in just a couple of weeks. Let's mention the Canadian Thomas DeVoe as well, who's currently running third quick. We'll see how that shakes out. He had his troubles yesterday during the session, but did get back out, and it's nice to see him back up near the front of the field.
Indeed, had a bit of trouble coming through the final corner, turn number 8. The car stepped out on him a little bit, tapped the right rear, spun around in front of us. So he'll start 13th in race number 1, but Thomas DeVoe out of Quebec now into the 4th position as Jagger Jones has moved up ahead of him. But DeVoe for D-Force Racing P4. Papasavas still in 5th. Spike Kohlbecker up into 6th. 7th now is Kohlbecker as Bejoy Garg moving to P5. So it's Garg in 5th, Papasavas in 6th, Kohlbecker 7th. Michael D'Orlando, championship contender, all the way down in 8th spot. Jacob Douglas continuing his improvement in the second half of the season. The Kiwi now up into 9th. And Billy Fraser, his exclusive Autosport teammate, now running in 10th. So Michael D'Orlando, who is in a championship battle, neck and neck with Miles Rowe. The title just 12 points. Sees Rowe on the outside of the front row and D'Orlando back in 8th. He's going to find some speed over the last 2.5 minutes.
You mentioned Michael D'Orlando. Jace Denmark, who's currently up on top in provisional pole. Miles Rowe, that would really shake up that championship potentially.
Yeah. I'd love to see Denmark get himself back into it. He was able to win earlier in the season, scored a victory at St. Petersburg, and then was able to get a win at Road America as well. He's P1 right now, but Billy Fraser gets himself back up into the top 5. He goes P4, and Jacob Douglas up to 6th. Douglas has had a fantastic little run here. He was 5th and 7th at Mid-Ohio, and then 13th at the end of the triple header. A couple of top 10s there for Jacob Douglas, 16 years of age, out of New Zealand. His dad, Craig Douglas, coming to join him here this week, and he's had the family and his coaches coming over throughout the season, now living in Indianapolis, Indiana for the summer. Young Jacob Douglas really starting to dial things in here second half of the season. And he will be a guy I think will challenge for the championship next year. Again, learning the first year, come back to challenge for the title in your second year in the program. That's really what we've seen over the 13 years of this fantastic USF2000 program. Denmark, Road, Michael D'Orlando to third. There's what we expected out of the third-year driver. Runner-up for the championship last year. D'Orlando will go to pit lane. He'll call it a day. Dropping down to 4th spot as Jagger Jones, his teammate, has gone to 2nd. So D'Orlando able to improve significantly up from where he was. Remember, all the way down. It said he was in pit lane, but I just saw him roll by in the number 4. So not sure why it said that Michael D'Orlando was in pit lane on our live timing, but he's still out on the racetrack. We have a red flag, actually, and that is 40 seconds. That's going to end this session. We have a red flag, an issue on the racetrack somewhere. Driver's gone off in turn number 8. Yep, someone overcooking it into turn number 8. And Todd, I see a piece in the middle of the racetrack that lets me believe maybe spinning it sideways and shooting it back. We're being told that's the number 91. That'll be Nick D'Orlando in the exclusive Autosport machine. So Nicholas having some trouble there. So again, that's coming through the turn number 8, the corner just before pit in the 9, 10, 11 complex. But drivers will charge that corner a lot. And again, that's that run to the stripe as well, because you see the checkered flag is on the other side of that corner. That's the alternate timeline coming through there. So that's really the end of a really good lap. And when it will happen, a driver can see where they are on their dash, on their steering wheel. They're going to be able to see if they have a predictive good lap. Are you up on your fastest lap? And when you come into turn number 8, which is effectively the last corner on a timed lap, sometimes they'll charge it a little harder in. I'm up 0.3 of a second. I can make it here. And if you charge too much into that corner, you may get into the apex on the inside, or we have seen some drivers just kind of overcook it, either loop it or nose it in. That's tough. And it's going to be tough for Nicholas D'Orlando as well. He's 14th in the order. Lots of work to do for him this weekend. And lots of work to do for the team, because it looks like there's a number of pieces of body work that are going to have to be replaced on that number 91 machine before this afternoon's race for the USF2000 series. But the checkered flag has flown. The session ends just a little bit early, but Jace Denmark comes up with the quickest time. Not quite into the 111s, but pretty close. Let's jump on this real quick. You said this afternoon, to be honest, they're on pre-grid at 11:30. These guys are going to have 3 hours to get this car ready to get D'Orlando to the pre-grid for race number 1. And indeed, though, Jace Denmark, essentially back-to-back poles. It was Miles Rowe who was quickest yesterday for race number 1, but as he blew the checker, came back another lap, which is a no-no in the road to Indy in any kind of racing, to be honest. He lost that pole. So really back-to-back pole position starts for Jace Denmark. So that's 2 points as well in terms of bonus points. So he's now only 30 points back in total, but maybe more importantly, he'll start in the front row, inside of the front row on the pole for both races. Great start for Jace Denmark out of Arizona for Pabst Racing. Off pole will be Jagger Jones for Cape Motorsports in the number 3. He'll start in the second position. Row 2 will see your point leader, Miles Rowe. In fact, the two drivers in the championship battle are going to start on the second row. Miles Rowe in the 22 for Pabst, and Cape Motorsports' Michael D'Orlando, separated by a set. Just 12 points coming into the weekend. This championship fight is going to go all the way down to Portland on Labor Day weekend. Billy Fraser found some speed late in the running, which is good for him. Again, he's going to start deeper in the field after the issue in qualifying for race 1, but it'll be a P5 starting spot inside of row number 3 for the Kiwi for race number 2 alongside the Canadian Thomas Naveau. Then we'll have Jacob Douglas, another strong qualifying effort for him. He'll start 7th alongside Spike Kohlbecker, and it'll be Bajoy Garg and Ivagors Papasavas in the top 10. Papasavas ending up P10, but man, he was a star throughout that session. Was P1 for a time, top 5, although he's back there in the 10th spot. Look at that. If you look at the gap here, literally from Douglas in 7th, all the way back to Christie in 11th. It is 1/10 of a second from 7th back to 11th. That's, you find a 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second, you're jumping up 2 or 3 rows. That's how close and how competitive this USF2000 program is this year.
Here's a replay of the incident that brought a slightly premature end to our qualifying session for the USF2000, and just as you said, got into the corner a little bit hot and touched the tires.
Yeah, and I think you're getting into the corner and you're trying to trail brake a little bit. The rear end breaks loose on you. You can see that it broke loose, and of course it came around. And really, sadly, it's going to be left rear and left front, because once he hit the left rear, it spun him back around. So there's going to be some significant damage to the exclusive Autosport number 91 for Nicholas D. Orlando. Again, as I said, 3 hours before these guys have to present their cars to the pre-grid. So lots of work to be done for exclusive Autosport, but I'll tell you, Jace Denmark's going to be smiling in the paddock for sure. 2 pole positions for the driver from Arizona. Jace Denmark, the quickest driver in qualifying, the bonus point as well. Jagger Jones, Miles Rowe, Michael D. Orlando, and Billy Fraser rounding out the top 5.
As Rob mentioned, they will race this afternoon. They'll be lining up at 11:30. The race goes at 12 noon. Up next on our program for Saturday here at the Honda Indy Toronto, it is Indy Pro 2000 qualifying. We'll get the field set for their race to come up a little bit this afternoon as well. A quick break, and then we'll get you set for Indy Pro 2000 qualifying and set the schedule for the rest of our race day.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduro Maxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
their qualifying session about to begin. It is a welcome return here to Toronto, and the excitement and enthusiasm you can feel. It's great.
Well, we had our autograph session yesterday, and it was a half an hour long. We probably could have stayed for an hour. IndyCar was coming in to follow us, but we just had people coming through to get a chance to meet all of our Road to Indy drivers. And as I said during that autograph session, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series, right? When you look at Indy Pro 2000, you think of the drivers that raced here with Pato O'Ward, Colton Herta, keep going through the ranks of Renus VK, Dalton Kellett, Kyle Kirkwood. You just keep going through the drivers that are in IndyCar right now who have come through this Indy Pro 2000 category. This is the future of the NTT IndyCar Series, and they're rolling out here for qualifying right now. I don't like the fact that they're all running together.
I was just going to say, that seems like there's a lot of cars in a lot of really close proximity in the early going of this session.
Exactly, and this could be one of the deals where, again, they're just going to get out there, get kind of stretched out a little bit. They're not going to be on their brand new tires right now, as we saw in USF2000. They're coming out in the tires that they had on yesterday to get a feel for the car. We've made changes. What's the track like? We talked about that in USF2000 as well. IndyCar finally has had their long practice session from yesterday. This racetrack's going to be so much better than it was when they qualified yesterday afternoon.
A lot of extra rubber down on the track from the time that these cars were out on course yesterday. They'll just start to get the feel of it over the next lap or two, and then again, as you can see, the cars are beginning to stretch out on the field just a little bit. And again, it'll take a lap or two to build the heat in the tires, get familiar and comfortable with the changes to the circuit since yesterday, and then they'll start putting the pedal down and going a little bit quicker each and every lap.
What I saw that was interesting yesterday, of course, as we know, Louis Foster, great run for him, a 109.413, his fast lap. But it was the speed that we saw, number one, the strategy and the speed that we saw from the Juncos Hollinger racing drivers. They went out, did 2 laps on fresh tires to scuff that set in, put a heat cycle into those Coopers. They'll keep those tires and use them for a race later on, either today or tomorrow. Then they were able to come back out, and right at the very end of the session, both Gold and Ahmed able to put down laps. And Ahmed, the Pakistani-born driver from London, England, ends up P2, his best qualifying effort of the year. And his teammate Reese Gold, the 17-year-old, who we've seen win in both USF 2000 and Indy Pro, qualifying up to 3rd. There was a last lap dash for both of those drivers to get themselves into a place where they're going to be able to challenge potentially for a race win here this weekend. And obviously, starting on the pole position is a crucial thing in any race. You always want that pole. But also, here in Toronto, if you're 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, you got a chance to lead coming out of turn number 1. It's such a long run out of the last corner to get that green, to come down into turn 1. We'll see them fan 3 wide, 4 wide, and you can easily see a dive bomb move down the bottom. So the pole is big, but it's always not maybe the best place to be, depending on the attack strategy of those around you when we do go racing. And indeed, we do have 2 races for you. Part of the Road to Indy here this day here on Saturday. We'll go green flag racing at noon with USF 2000, and then a little later on, a 1 o'clock green flag for Indy Pro 2000. So back-to-back Road to Indy races for you starting at lunchtime. So good opportunity to grab something to eat, something cold to drink, get back to your seats for 2 races starting at noon. Right now, we're qualifying for race number 2, which will take place tomorrow morning ahead of the NTT IndyCar Series main event, and it's Indy Pro 2000, qualifying for the L&W Supply Grand Prix of Toronto. Early laps, Braden Eves on top for Jay Howard Driver Development. His team mate Salvador de Alba up into 2nd, Kiko Porto in 3rd, Anam Ahmed in 4th, and Nolan Siegel for D-Force Racing in the 5th spot. But they get very early in this run. The first 5 minutes to start to come into the books here now. We'll see if drivers come into pit lane maybe halfway through kind of a thing. Get maybe 7, 8, 9 minutes of on-track running and then potentially coming in to put on fresh Coopers. With the track changing so much from yesterday to today, with the Indy cars getting out there to really lay a lot of rubber down, really these first 5, 6, 7 laps are going to be an opportunity for the drivers to feel the new grip level, especially coming through this corner. Turn number 5 is obviously a key corner on this racetrack. It really is the corner that leads onto the back straightaway all the way down to turn number 8. So the grip level there you would expect would change with the Indy cars rolling through as they did. So this track will change throughout the weekend, and a big change for these drivers coming into this session. De Alba's now gone to P1 with a 110.614. Salvador De Alba, who has spent his career running in the NASCAR Mexico Series and their Supercopa program down there. So a lot of big, heavy tin top stock car and sports car racing, making the move to the open wheel formula cars, much more light and nimble. Had a chance to test for Indy Lights car last year for Andretti Autosport, but electing to move to Indy Pro here this year, and he has been really a revelation throughout the season, Salvador de Alba. I've kind of dubbed him the most improved driver through the first half of the season. He has found himself to the point where he's a top 5 runner almost every weekend now, working his way up the order as well. Just over the last 2 weekends, he has gone a 4th, a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 5th. So 4 straight top 5 for Salvador de Alba, when before that, his only top 5 was actually a win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He finished 2nd on the racetrack, but a DQ for the winner moved him to P1. So these last 2 weekends at Road America and Mid-Ohio have been really impressive for Salvador de Alba, and I know he'll be hoping to continue the momentum that he's developed here mid-season. Josh Green's gone to P1, the Turn 3 Motorsports machine. And again, still early, as I said, 6 minutes in. We'll see which drivers are first in the pit lane. Here we go. Yeah, Braden Eves in pit lane, Anam Ahmed, Nolan Siegel, Salvador de Alba. They're saying, okay, car feels good. I got a feel for this racetrack. You know, I was able to get 4 laps in, Todd. This is good. This is what I want now, though. So, yeah, again, these aren't raw rookies either. A number of these drivers have raced here in Toronto as well. They've been in the road to Indy for a couple of years, so they raced here before COVID shut things down. They know this racetrack to a certain extent. They're veteran drivers of the road to Indy. 4 laps in, I know what my car's feeling like. I know what I want to change. Let's put on fresh rubber.
And now's the time to manage the tires, put the fresh tires on, get the maximum out of them in the remaining 13 minutes that's left in this qualifying session. Gives you a couple of laps to come out after the changes have been made, get the feel for it, bring the tire temperature up to optimum, and then put in that quick lap before the end of the session to maximize your qualifying position.
And that's it. When you come in like they have early on, it's going to take probably 2 minutes, potentially a little bit more for the guys to get the new tires on. It's not like coming in for an IndyCar pit stop where the guys are going to get you in and out in 7.5 seconds. This takes more time. We don't have the guns and to get things rolling. They got to do the front tires first, then the rears. It's some more methodical effort with the crew that we have on pit lane, but it will take a couple of minutes to get them back out onto the racetrack.
Especially, too, if you're making some changes and adjustments to the car, if you're changing the handling characteristics just a little bit. You want to make sure that you've got it right before you send your driver out. And it's just amazing, though, that in a 20-minute session, they'll do 11, 12 laps and be able to have such an increase in performance in that 20 minutes.
Well, what you probably won't see a wing change. That's something a little tougher to do, but they'll take the front and rear cowl off to be able to have access to the dampers, the suspension. Able to make a couple of click here, click there, just a bit of a change to the rebound and the compression of the shock, and at that point able just a way to change the balance of the race car, the way it's going to handle. And of course throughout the session as well, one of the things the drivers can change inside the cockpit is brake bias. They're able to change the bias of the brake. Is it more brake to the front, more brake to the rear? Not something we can do in our street car, but it really will change the attitude of the car coming into the corner. If you have more front brake, it's going to cause the car to pitch a little more because you're locking the front brakes up before the rears, so and with more pressure. So that's one of the things they can do to change any kind of balance on the race car if there are issues.
And it looks like 9 cars in pit lane already. Amazing just to see everyone following the same plan going through the qualifying session. We've done the first 7 or 8 minutes, and now we understand the differences in the car, the differences in the track. We can adjust accordingly.
So let's say this right now. The USF2000 drivers went about 0.8 of a second faster than they did in qualifying from yesterday. Right now, we're at a 109.8. So 109.4 was the fastest time yesterday. We should see a time potentially in the mid to high 108s when they come back out. Again, the cars are getting lighter and lighter. There's Louis Foster, who is P1 right now in the Copart exclusive Autosport machine. So Foster, your point leader, coming in with a sizable 49-point advantage over Reese Gold and 55 points over Nolan Siegel. Foster, the fastest driver for the first part of this session, a 109.881. Kiko Porto in that number 1 machine, the reigning USF2000 champion for D-Force Racing this year as a rookie in Indy Pro, has himself in second, backed by just over a 10th. Josh Green, Yuvan Sundaramurthy, and Braden Eves rounding out the top 5. Foster for exclusive Autosport, Porto the Brazilian for D-Force, Green from Mount Kisco, New York in the Turn 3 Motorsports machine, Yuvan Sundaramurthy, the Indian-American driver for Paps Racing, and Braden Eves out of New Albany, Ohio. Another USF2000 champion. So 2 USF2000 champions, past champions in the top 5 right now. That's, again, a great showing of what this road to Indy does. It just develops the drivers, and once you become a champion, you continue to be able to show your prowess.
That is the goal, is to move drivers up to the next rung on the ladder, hopefully eventually one day to participate in the NTT IndyCar Series. But the knowledge that they gain, the growth and experience they gain through all the different levels, each level of the car a little more sophisticated, a little more power, as you like to say, more of everything.
More of everything.
And that's what the teams get too, because the teams also grow and get more experience as they move up the levels of the Indy.
Indeed, right? And you're working with more experienced engineers as well. A lot of times for USF2000, it'll be one of the younger engineers, or maybe a guy who's been around a long time and really likes working with the young guys and girls that come into the program, right? That kind of that raw nature, they're able to work with them, and that's one of the cases for Exclusive Autosport. Lou D'Agostino, who has been around for many years, is engineering their USF2000 program, and you see that throughout the program as well. So Foster on top of the 109.8, but expect these guys to probably, I'm going to say, drop maybe a second before we're all said and done with fresh rubber. Foster, Porto, Green, Sunder, Murthy, and Eves. It will take, as you know, Todd, a couple of laps to bring these tires up to temperature. There's the two Exclusive Autosport drivers coming through. That's one thing I was going to bring up there. Luckily that it was the two teammates, because when you come back out with new tires, you have to make sure that you don't impede anybody else who maybe came out before you. If they came out a couple laps before you, they've got their heat up to the tires up to temperature. If you impede a fast lap for them, you're going to incur a penalty. You have to make sure you stay out of the way of anybody behind you who's coming through.
All part of the learning process, whether it's managing traffic out on course during a race. A qualifying session is the same thing. You cannot impede someone else's lap, and the same courtesy is afforded to you as well. If you're on a hot flyer, you don't want someone coming out of pit lane and slowing down your final sectors as well.
Exactly that. Josh Green rolling through. Currently P2 for Josh Green, 109.939 for that first half of the session. Still 7:45 to go, so long time for these drivers to dial things in. But again, as we talk about every time we have a qualifying session, there is this equation that provides a fast lap here in any qualifying session, and it's about having the tire pressures correct, knowing exactly when the magic lap's going to be. The tire pressure needs to meet the magic lap. As it comes up to where it needs to be, let's say the Cooper tires, lap 4 is the best potentially, or lap 5 is the best here at this racetrack. That's got to come together where the tire pressure builds so it's perfect on lap number 5. The driver has to have open racetrack. You want the car to be as light as possible on fuel, and then you put it in the hands of the driver. They have to put the magic lap in. They can't make that mistake. They have to maximize their opportunity. They really optimize the tires, and that's what Louis Foster said, Todd. He struggled with it at the start of the year. He'd never run the Cooper tires racing in Europe. Came over here and just couldn't get a feel for them in qualifying. If you look at his qualifying runs early in the season, they weren't there. But come Road America, come the road course in Indianapolis, he's like, now I got a feel for these things, and it was on the pole position.
Just like anything, whether it's a new track, new car, if you're getting all that experience with a new tire compound that you've not run before, it takes a while to understand the characteristics of it. How hard do you push it early? How much do you have to work to save and manage those tires throughout the race distance? Times are starting to come down just a little bit now as Nolan Siegel's gone to the top with a 109.2.
Yeah, if you look at Louis Foster's qualifying, 4th and 5th at St. Petersburg, 5th and 6th at Barber, second and second at Indianapolis. Then he qualifies on a 3rd at Road America and a Mid-Ohio pole for both races. Oh, I got a feel for these tires now. All right, I'll qualify up top. And that's the experience you're going to get when you're here with this program, right? It's just one of the variables is how to be able to handle the Cooper tires. We've seen drivers who have come from Europe. It takes them just a little bit of time to understand this, this compound, the construction of the tire. Once you do and you understand it, then you can maximize qualifying sessions.
Along with learning all the new tracks, learning this brand new car, learning the new team. But it's an indicator of what a sensational season it is for this rookie from Europe.
Yeah, I'll tell you this right now: the Englishman Louis Foster is on his way to this championship. It's really his to lose to a certain extent. He's got a massive 49-point lead. That's almost a race and a half of points. That's how much farther ahead he is from his competition. He just needs to have a couple of good runs here at Toronto and then go to the Oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway in a really good place to potentially win this title.
Second oval on the season for the Indy Pro 2000. It's USF2000 just get the single oval at IRP, but it's the second one, the bigger one, for the Indy Pro 2000
Yeah,
cars.
almost twice as long as Indianapolis Raceway Park and significantly quicker as well. We saw Nolan Siegel go to the top, as you had said there, with a 109.1, but Foster's done it as well. 109.18. Foster about 17 thousandths of a second quicker than Siegel last time by. Lindsay Brewer's been into pit lane. They've got fresh rubber on her machine as well. So Brewer for Exclusive Autosport rolling back out here. So the young lady out of California, who is running in her third weekend here on the Road to Indy, had a good debut at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then another good run at Road America as well. She's back out onto the racetrack, but it's Foster, Siegel, Green, Eves, and Porto, your current Fast Five. We're going to see these times continue to fall. Anam Ahmed in 6th spot, Ewan Sooner Murray in 7th, Salvador de Alba in 8th position, 9th is Jonathan Brown, and 10th is Jordan Missick.
You can see the improvement for Lindsay Brewer as well, started yesterday. And you mentioned she's just running the partial season this year, trying to get the funding together. But again, taking advantage of events on the schedule, participate, gain some knowledge, learn the tracks, learn a little bit more about the car. She's had a noticeable step forward in improvement since yesterday.
Well, it's the same thing we saw that at Road America. We saw it when she started at Indianapolis. Because she hasn't had a lot of test time, every time she gets to the track, she's making leaps and bounds every lap. Literally, she'll be 3 seconds off the first practice session, but come race time at Indianapolis, she was turning the same lap times essentially as the lead pack. So again, for her, it's about getting the seat time potentially for a full season next year. We've seen that with Eva Goris Papasavas as well. You take the opportunity to get the experience you can this year to try to put a full season together. Every track's a brand new racetrack for her. I'm trying to keep her focused on being positive because she does have the speed you need to run up front.
Just about 3 minutes left in this Indy Pro 2000 qualifying session, and the times are continuing to fall.
Josh Green laying down a 109.026. Not yet into the 108s, but I expect it will happen soon. 109.026 for Josh Green, a winner earlier in the season. Green was victorious in the opening round of the program at St. Petersburg. Currently tied for 5th in points with Braden Eves. He leads the way. Nolan Siegel now goes to the top. There's your first time into the 108s. A 108.857 for Nolan Siegel. 108.629 for Louis Foster. The Brit dropping down another quick lap here. Foster, Siegel, Green, Sooner, Murray now up to 4th, and Braden Eves in 5th. It's been a good little run here for Ewan Sooner Murray as well. 3 top 10s in the last 4 races. He's kind of got, as a rookie, he's starting to get a feel for it as well.
Just going to say, at the start of the season, there was a little bit of trying to find your way, and understandably so for these youngsters in the Indy Pro 2000 series moving up. But now as you go through into the second half of the season, you can see again the progression that they've made.
That is exactly at the second half of the season from Road America on, is when the rookies really aren't rookies anymore. They've already run enough races. And over the first half of the season, we run the full spectrum of racing circuits as well. Natural terrain road courses, Barber Motorsports Park, Indianapolis, Road America of course when we get there. They've run the oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. We've done a street circuit already at St. Petersburg. One of the great things about the Road to Indy and IndyCar is the diversity of the circuits that we run. They get a full spectrum of that over the first half of the season. By the time we get to Road America and then here, Mid-Ohio, then to Toronto, not really rookies anymore. They've been able to taste everything so far.
They've experienced everything and understanding what to expect as much as anything. Not having raced at a street circuit before, it's challenging. It can be intimidating with the concrete walls, but once you've done it and experienced it, it's like anything. You know what to expect.
Yeah, the second time they're just more comfortable, right? Just over a minute remaining in qualifying. Louis Foster has gone 0.2 of a second faster than Nolan Siegel. A 108.629 for Foster. Siegel in second. Josh Green third. Anam Ahmed in fourth. And Jordan Missick up into 5th. What a strong run here for Jordan Missick. Up into the 5th spot for Pabst Racing. Their drivers 5th and 7th. Missick P5. And Sooner Murray in 7th. That is the best we've seen out of Jordan Missick, I believe, in terms of qualifying. Coming into this weekend, his best qualifying was actually 9th at Road America in race number 1. So he's really hustling that machine right now. Race Gold now up into 4th. Missick 5th. Ahmed 6th. 30 seconds remain. Foster not able to go any quicker here on lap number 14. A 108.629. Still the fast lap here for Louis Foster. That's holding on for him. So Foster, Siegel, Green, Gold, and Missick the top 5. Ahmed 6th, Brown 7th. Good run here for Jonathan Brown as well for Turn 3 Motorsport, the former Formula Ford Festival winner, the Irishman in 7th. Sooner Murray now 8th, and here comes Salvador de Alba. He'll move his way now up into 6. So, as always, the last minute's exciting. Checker flag flying. So everybody coming down the straightaway here into turn 3, final circuit. Last opportunity to find some more speed. Josh Green does not do it. He goes P3. So top 5 starts in both races right now provisionally for Josh Green. He'll start on the inside of row number 2 if all holds. Oh, Kiko Porto rolling through turn number 7. Or turn 6 rather. That is a very quick corner. You're full throttle at a 5 and trying to carry as much speed as you can through turn number 6. There's turn 7, back to turn number 8. And a driver is wrecked coming into pit lane, and that is Josh Green. They're not going to be able, are they going to be able to get just enough room through? Yeah, Josh Green has had some trouble coming into pit lane. Wondering whether or not he came hot out of turn number 8 and it kind of skated to a stop there, Todd. But wow, what a wild finish to this one. Everybody blowing it up coming out of turn number 8. The AMR safety team trying to come in there as well. The rest of the field, see what they can do to potentially come through. So there's some excitement for Josh Green. Obviously doesn't bring out the red flag, so it's not like he's going to lose his fast lap. He is in P3. Let's give a quick run through the order as we wrap it up, as we watch the chaos unfold here on the entry to pit lane. But Louis Foster on the pole, 2/10 quicker, back-to-back pole positions for Foster. Man, he has been good over the last number of weekends. Foster up by 2/10, a 108.629 to a 108.857 for Nolan Siegel. So Foster and Siegel will be on the front row of race number 2 tomorrow morning. It'll be Josh Green and Reese Gold on row number 2, Missig and De Alba row 3. Let's have a look at the replay of what we had here. And here's Green coming in a little wide, just enough. Oh, and he tapped the left rear coming out of turn number 8, and then made contact with the wall coming through. That's tough for him. Obviously, he was trying to go for a little bit more on the final circuit. We talked about the fact that the alternate timeline is just on the other side of that corner, so you're trying to roll as much speed as you possibly can through turn number 8. He got just wide and almost came out of it clean, but just touched the left rear. The minute that happened, broke the left rear, the car settles down in the back part of the car, and at that point, he's really just along for the ride. The right front would come off the ground, and he spun that car around and made contact with the tire barrier right on the, essentially, the end of coming into pit lane. Man, tough one there for Josh Green.
Yeah, sure is. Here's a look at the qualifying for the Indy Pro 2000 race number 2. Louis Foster, Nolan Siegel, as you said, Josh Green, Reese Gold, and Jordan Missig, who score the top 5 qualifying positions.
4th straight pole position for Louis Foster. Here's a guy right now who has an opportunity to take a run at the championship. Everybody else trying to step up to see if they can't hold him off, and he's just doubling down, to be honest. This is what's so impressive about Louis Foster right now, and I can tell you this. There are Indy Lights teams over there and IndyCar teams saying, okay, this Louis Foster kid, we can't let this guy go. Where is he going to be in Indy Lights next year? You know he's going to be there regardless if he wins the championship. He's already showing it here right now. And a tremendous run for Louis Foster, 108.629, 4 straight poles, and looking to potentially try to put a nail in the coffin of this Indy Pro 2000 category rolling through to Portland on Labor Day weekend.
The Indy Pro 2000 cars will return later on this afternoon for race number 1 of this weekend here at the Honda Indy Toronto, and this is the qualifying for race number 2 tomorrow. Coming up next, it is Porsche Carrera Cup North America and their qualifying session just after the top of the hour. Rob Howden will be back to call the race for USF2000 and Indy Pro 2000 this afternoon, along with pre-race ceremonies. A quick break will get you set for our next qualifying session, Porsche Carrera Cup North America.